We have a major Igor Shesterkin contract update as a notable insider has revealed what his contract extension may look like, and a former Rangers legend weighs in on the situation and Igor Shesterkin. We're going to break all of that down, but before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you watching our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so if you want to do yourself a favor and stay up to date with everything New York Rangers, hit that subscribe button. It's free. And without further ado, let's get into the video today, guys. And before we touch on Igor Shesterkin and a major update and some news from a notable insider, I did want to take a second to congratulate Marc Staal on his retirement. It was announced earlier this week that he will be retiring from the NHL after 17 seasons, and Staal will join the Rangers organization as a player development assistant. So obviously retiring from on-ice work, but not retiring from hockey as a whole. He will be working for the New York Rangers in some capacity, and of course he was selected 12th overall in 2005 by the Rangers, and he played in over 1,100 NHL games in his career, obviously playing most notably for the New York Rangers. And I loved Marc Staal in his time as a Ranger. I thought he was a great defenseman and a pretty sturdy defenseman back there for the New York Rangers in his time as a New York Ranger. So congrats to him on his retirement, and just wanted to shout him out there in the early part of the video. Now let's get into the fun stuff. All right, there was some big news around the league this week regarding contract extensions, obviously with Leon Draisaitl signing his huge contract extension in Edmonton, and it has Remy wondering if that decision by the Oilers and the number he signed for in Edmonton, obviously different player, different position, will have something to do with obviously the eventual contract extension for Igor Shesterkin. Obviously, he goes on to say Shesterkin is clearly the Rangers' anchor. By the way, he played last year. He had obviously amazing numbers. I mean, league save percentage, average save percentage now is .905. He surpassed that incredibly in the regular season and of course the playoffs. I mean, by every metric, this guy is probably the best goalie in the National Hockey League. And now with Draisaitl signing a contract extension, it could be interesting, and we might have some insight into what number he's looking at. And we have obviously here Elliotte Friedman on the new 32 Thoughts podcast with Kyle Bukauskas. Says Igor Shesterkin, I think the New York Rangers know this is going to be a big number. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be the number one paid goalie in the National Hockey League. So of course, in saying that, it's going to be over 10 million. It's just a matter of getting there. And obviously we heard that Shesterkin came out and said that he wants a certain percentage of the cap next season, or on his next deal, I should say, and it would equate to just north of $12 million. Now, is he going to get exactly what he wants? I don't think so. Obviously, they're going to negotiate, and there's going to be some negotiation going on during the season. But I think he does get over $10 million. I do think he's going to be the highest paid goaltender in the NHL, because at the end of the day, a lot of these guys do have an ego, and he wants to be the highest paid goalie in the league because he is the best goaltender in the league. So obviously, he's going to want a contract to reflect that. He doesn't want a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky, which, just won the Stanley Cup. No disrespect to him. But I think, statistically, Shesterkin is the better of the two and the best goaltender in the league, bar none. Honestly, I think he is the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And as you go on further in this article, I mean, there's a lot for the Rangers to think about heading into next year. They have to sign Lafreniere, right? And his value is quickly rising, especially after last season. Keandre Miller, of course, the defenseman, and Shesterkin, obviously, with his upcoming contract. The deal, most notably, I think Shesterkin's will make or break. Honestly, I totally agree with this. The franchise, whichever way the organization goes. Now, in saying that, I think Remy and I think everyone share the sentiment that we don't think that Igor Shesterkin's going to go anywhere else. I don't think that the Rangers are going to offload this guy in a trade, right, to save room for other players or cut their losses, or think that they can go and sign somebody else to be their goalie and they'd be as good of a team. This guy is the heartbeat of the New York Rangers, and you build the team out from the goaltender out, I believe. So, in saying that, this is a great goaltender and, probably the best in the league. And the Rangers are not going to let him go. That's just not an option here. It's just a matter of how much he gets. And it is a major risk at the end of the day. I do agree here to give a goalie upwards of $10 million, but it's also a risk to give up Shesterkin and possibly falling out of Stanley Cup contention. If they give up Shesterkin, if he's not re-signed, they automatically fall out of Stanley Cup contention for me. They're just not the same team without him. They wouldn't play with as much confidence. And, to move on to a different, not within the same realm of obviously Igor Shesterkin, not a completely different topic, but Henrik Lundqvist, obviously the New York Rangers legend and Hall of Famer, was just interviewed about Igor Shesterkin, obviously the looming contract extension for him and what he thinks of the goaltender, and he had some big things to say. And this article also goes into where Shesterkin matches up with Lundqvist in the time with the New York Rangers so far. And if you look at these numbers, this is Shesterkin's numbers from his career so far. They speak for themselves. I mean, he has a goals against average of under 3, which in the league right now, if you look at the league average, I mean, that's just absurd. He's played 213 games, and I mean, he's only played 5 seasons, and his numbers are impressive. That's crazy to me. The win-loss ratio is super impressive to me. He is the best goaltender in the league. And then obviously from one king to another, love this from Remy. Again, Henrik Lundqvist praises Igor Shesterkin, and he goes on to say that Henrik Lundqvist in his time as a New York Ranger brought the Rangers so much happiness. Of course, I mean, he was the number 1 starter for so long. He was the best player on the team for so long, and Shesterkin is looking to surpass that by accomplishing, obviously, winning the Stanley Cup. And Lundqvist has some interesting things to say about Igor Shesterkin. He says his ability to read the plays and be very efficient in the way he plays goaltender and the way he moves upright in his stance allows him to move pretty quickly on his feet. I expect him to be one of the best goaltenders again. He's up there every year and challenging the top guys in the league with the way he plays and his ability to come up big when it matters. And I think all Rangers fans can agree with Henrik Lundqvist. He's seeing exactly what Rangers fans are seeing. And it's that, Shesterkin is the best goaltender in the league. Obviously, he's going to be compensated for it. It's going to be a major contract extension. It could be, I'm thinking it's going to be north of 10 million, of course. I think it's going to be south of the 12 million or 12 point something that he was asking for. Obviously, he wants a certain percentage, which makes sense, but he's not going to get exactly what he wants. It just doesn't work for the Rangers. They have a lot of contract extensions they have to do heading into next year as well. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I wonder if it gets done within, the middle of the season, sometime during the season, maybe next offseason. If the Rangers and Chris Drury put it off until next offseason, that, there's a lot of room for feelings to get hurt. We saw it with Steven Stamkos. Anything can happen if you take it right to the finish line there and don't actually finish by signing the contract. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. Let me know in the comments what you think of, first of all, Henrik Lundqvist's comments on Igor Shesterkin. There's so many similarities between the two and what they've been able to do for the New York Rangers. And obviously Shesterkin's trying to surpass Lundqvist by way of winning a Stanley Cup. And let me know in the comments what you think about the contract extension looming for Igor Shesterkin. Very interesting stuff from Elliotte Friedman. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be the number 1 paid goalie in the NHL. It's just a matter of getting there. Very interesting stuff. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.